Hello and welcome to Queenie's Card of the Month for December 2014. And the card of the month this month from the Brian Froud Fairies Oracle is the Dark Lady. All right, so I don't know if she doesn't look very scary, does she? She looks intense. When we are pressed to look at the darkness within ourselves, or the darkness within anyone else, it is intense because there are a lot of parts of ourselves that for most people, including myself, there are a lot of aspects of our own personality and a lot of parts of ourselves that are kind of disenfranchised, that we don't want to, something we prefer not to be accountable for, something we prefer not to see or take responsibility for. Well, this month is a time when, whether you want to or not, life is digging deep for you, digging into and the reason that it's happening, the reason that any of this kind of thing happens is to bring the dark or the stuff that you don't think is okay out into the light so it can be healed, so it can be released, so it can be let go of, so it can be known and acknowledged so that you can be more whole within yourself. Because that we have to embrace, well, you don't have to, but during months like this with the Dark Lady, one of the parts of the Dark Lady is to be able to embrace your shadow in order to be more whole, because those are all aspects of yourself. I mean, not everybody's happy all the time. Not everybody's perfect all the time. And then those of us that try and be perfect all the time generally have this terrible inner critic inside there that's telling us that, you know what, you are never going to be enough. You're never good enough. That's shadow. That's part of your shadow. All the parts that you think that aren't lovable, all the parts that you think that other people wouldn't understand, that's your shadow. And this month, you're probably going to find yourself in situations where that shadow kind of gurgles up a little bit, and it's going to be kind of hard to contain. That doesn't mean that you let that the shadow just goes and runs off and does its own thing and you have no control over it, that your id is all crazy running around. Yeah! Maybe it is. But maybe there are the people who have that happen are the ones that have their id running around all the time. Yeah! And those are the people that you look at and go, I wish I was that free. You know? Well, they're kind of letting it out. Anyway, so the first thing about the Dark Lady is to explore and to understand that. And what it feels like to me, though, is that we're being kind of drawn in to look at the shadow. So when I say look at the shadow, I mean that December is a month where there's like a flashlight pointing to the little dust bunnies in the corners and all the shadow. And the reason that it's pointing to it isn't to torture you. It isn't to hurt you. It isn't to make you crazy. It's so that you can own those parts of yourself, the parts of yourself that you may think is too weak or to this or to that. It's so that you can own those parts of yourself so that you can be more whole. Okay, that's the first aspect of the Dark Lady. The other aspect of the Dark Lady kind of ties into that, where as you feel more whole, you have more access to your own, I like to call it your own magic, you know, your own ability to thrive, an ability to heal, an ability to move forward in your life. So the other part of the Dark Lady is about accessing that. And sometimes you have to go through a bunch of your own garbage to access where that light is. So the Dark Lady takes you deep into yourself so that you can find your own light. Okay? It's not necessarily easy. It's easier for some people than it is for others because we have a lot of resistance to owning and being accountable for who we are and our behaviors and our inner thoughts about things out in the world. There's a big, I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of us come into this world and the way that we were kind of controlled by our parents or by society is to make us feel bad. Shame on you. Well, or make you feel guilty. there's a big difference between guilt and remorse. Remorse is, yeah, I effed that up, and I'm going to do better next time, without beating yourself up about it. But guilt is, oh, I don't think I'll ever be able to do better because I totally suck. You make one little mistake and you think you totally suck. That's there in the shadow, in the darkness, that needs to come out and get healed. So December, it may be, I feel like it's like we're cleaning up. We're doing more cleanup, and it's a deep, thorough cleaning. But it's like a power wash of the dark recesses and corners of your nether regions. No, the shadow. We're all deep people. Most people are, if they acknowledge it. And part of acknowledging the depth is to be able to acknowledge the parts of you that you don't want to think are there, the parts that are either selfish or feel like they're selfish, the ego parts of you, the competitive parts of you, the jealous part of you. So you may find that a lot of these things are getting triggered. But if you can step back and look at it as, ooh, this is an opportunity to do it different. This is an opportunity to acknowledge, wow, I'm feeling really competitive, and not necessarily act on it, not shove it down, not shove it back down, but not necessarily act on it. Find a more constructive way to express it, And also darkness is a way that sometimes other people squish you down to feel better, or you squish other people down to feel better. It can be found in that passive-aggressive crap that we accidentally pull or intentionally pull to make somebody feel smaller so that we can feel bigger or vindicated about something. That's shadow. That's darkness. To be able to make a different choice when you're presented with a time that you normally do that. So we've got the dark lady. And being able to accept and acknowledge your own shadow, and being able to love your own shadow, can take you to a place of wholeness, which takes you to a place of tapping into your own magic. And honestly, life is not perfect all the time. I don't even know what perfect is. It's not going to be great all the time, but it's not going to be awful all the time either. Things happen in cycles. And I could say, oh, everything happens for a reason. Chances are, when you're in the middle of the crap, you're not going to want to hear, well, I'm sure this happened for a reason. And it's very well-meaning to say that, but, that's when you respond, F you, this sucks. But then maybe 5 years later or 10 years later, you're like, wow, had that road bump not happened, and yes, it really happened, and it sucked, I would not have experienced this, and this, which is good. So look at the dark lady. Acknowledge that there are some parts of yourself, some very magical, powerful parts of yourself. Because a lot of times we stuff our passion down. We think that's darkness or shadow. And that's some bullshit right there. So it's going to come out. So if you notice that, you're going to get put in situations, you're going to get triggered, you're going to find that you're in situations that bring out these parts of yourself that you're like, that is not appealing, I don't like it. Shove it down. You don't have to shove it down. Just find a different way to express it. You don't have to, it's coming up for acceptance. It's coming up for healing. It's being brought into the light of your life for a reason, because it wants to be part of the light so that it doesn't have as much a hold on you. When you have your shadow, it has hold. Anyway, I've got to close it up. This was your card of the month for December, the Dark Lady. Love you very much. I am at erinshannon.squarespace.com.